Rajai Ali, a long-forgotten figure, buried by prison time after his 2014 arrest. His reach is still felt nationwide. As a devout Muslim, his name is well respected amongst the Nine Gang. A gang-related sect of the Jamaat al-Muslimin, he was a complex figure. A man who went from humble beginnings to become one of the most feared gang leaders in the country. His rise to power was as swift and gruesome. Raised in the streets of Malabar, a small community in East Trinidad, Ali's early life was far from privileged. The streets of Malabar were tough, and opportunities were scarce. He grew up surrounded by poverty and crime. The environment was harsh, and the choices were limited. For many young men like Ali, the allure of the streets was hard to resist. It was an environment where survival often meant choosing the wrong path. The streets were a battleground, and only the strongest and most cunning could thrive. Ali, unfortunately, succumbed to the lure of the streets. His father, the powerful Muslim imam from Arima, had 4 sons. Zafar Ali, the youngest, was his father's pride and joy until he was killed at the tender age of 16. After this event, Rajai became more ruthless and power-hungry. His descent into the criminal underworld began at an early age. He was just a teenager when he first got involved in illegal activities. He started off small, but still making a name for himself in the grim streets of Arima. But Ali was ambitious. He craved power. He wasn't content with just being a small-time criminal. He wanted to control the streets. He quickly rose through the ranks of the criminal underworld. His strategic mind and fearless attitude set him apart from others. His dreams of being a gang leader was cut short when he was arrested by police for murder, but later escaped from prison, and a manhunt was sent out for his recapture. Not until 6 months later was he recaptured, making him a legend in the streets. His name after that was on the rise to be respected and feared. His time behind bars made him learn a lot about the criminal underworld, and when he was miraculously released from prison, his fame was at its height. His rise to Muslim power was a well-calculated move. His advantage? The general election of 2010. He used this for his own personal gain, seeing an opportunity, and so began his bloody rise to power. The story of Rajai Ali begins. Ali's power stemmed from his ability to instill fear. His mere presence was enough to send shivers down the spines of those who crossed his path. The darkness of the alleyways mirrored the darkness in his soul. First, he used the growing power of his father, the Imam, and his affiliation to then Jamaat leader Abu Bakr, to gain supporters in and around the community. The 2010 general elections was an important one. For the first time, the PNM government was losing grip of the country due to the high crime rate. Rajai used this as an opportunity and quickly switched sides to the UNC, the then opposition party. The growing unpopularity of the PNM government proved to be an advantage for Rajai, and when they finally lost the election, that was the big new Ali was waiting for. When the Young partnership rose to power, a major shuffle of authority was taking place, and Rajai was front and center to accept his position as community leader. Ali set up shop in the community of Karapo, a poor, lawless community, and to his advantage because the police presence in the area was minimal. His first order of business was to take full control of the street gangs in and around his community, and he would stop at nothing to accomplish this. He and his gang organized a youth empowerment program infamously named Life Sport, and with hefty government funding, his power was becoming uncontrollable. With funding to his Life Sport program, he got all the major contracts of the time. Racking up millions, his empire was at its all-time high. But with more power comes more enemies. Nonetheless, Rajai, not one to mess with, sent a brutal message to all who stand in his way. Ali's grip on the community tightened. With each passing day, his control grew stronger. The residents could do little but watch as their lives were dictated by a man who showed no mercy. The police seemed powerless to stop him. Despite their best efforts, they were always a step behind. Ali's network of informants ensured that he was always one step ahead, making it nearly impossible for law enforcement to catch him. He gruesomely murdered hundreds of young upcoming gang members. just of the fear they might one day take over his enterprise and his tactic. He dismembered the bodies of his enemies, often feeding them to hungry pigs on his farm. That way the police had no trace of the victims. Something that is still happening up to this day with his orders. Corrupt officials turned a blind eye to his activities. Money and power had a way of corrupting even the most steadfast individuals. Ali knew this and used it to his advantage, ensuring that his operations continued without interference. Ali's reign of terror continued unchecked. The city lay under a dark cloud with no end in sight. Despite the fear surrounding him, many in the community resented Ali's control. His influence was pervasive, and his presence loomed over every aspect of their lives. People felt trapped, unable to express their true feelings or live freely. They longed for a day when they could live without fear. The dream of a peaceful life seemed distant, yet it was a beacon of hope that kept them going. Parents wished for a future where their children could play outside without the shadow of danger. But speaking out against him was dangerous, very dangerous. The risks were immense, and the consequences of defiance were well known. The community was caught in a web of silence, each person wary of who might be listening. Those who dared to cross him often met with swift and brutal retribution. The stories of those who had tried and failed were etched into the collective memory of the community, serving as a grim warning to others. Their stories served as a chilling reminder of Ali's power. Memorials and flowers marked the spots where lives had been lost, each one a testament to the high cost of resistance. The community mourned, but they also remembered. It was a power that seemed absolute and unshakable. Ali's influence was like an iron grip, tightening with each passing day. People bowed their heads, not out of respect, but out of fear. However, the tide began to turn. Whispers of change started to circulate, and the community began to sense a shift. The increased police presence brought a glimmer of hope, a sign that perhaps Ali's reign was not as unassailable as it seemed. The police, under increasing pressure to act, intensified their investigation into Ali's activities. They combed through evidence, piecing together the puzzle of his operations. Each raid brought them closer to dismantling his network. They were determined to bring him to justice. The police chief's resolve was clear, and his determination inspired confidence in the community. The arrests were a sign that the law was finally catching up with Ali. The community, emboldened by the renewed police efforts, started to provide information, anonymous tips, and crucial documents.